Do not be fooled by this stick of Theseus you see before you. Despite all of the cosmetic modifications, this is in fact a Hori rap.n for the PS4. While we've done a lot of work on the top over here, on the inside is the very same officially licensed PS4 PCB that this thing has had all along. Until earlier today, I've been rocking a very clean look with the white WASD and some white buttons, but this was missing that special gamer euphoria that can only be achieved by glowing rainbow lights. I've been wanting to add RGB buttons to this for a really long time, and the perfect opportunity finally came up with the recent release of the Qanba Gravity KS RGB LED illuminated buttons. Now, I don't think I've seen anyone else selling an all-in-one button with RGB lights included. I've definitely seen some options to add RGB lights to buttons that already exist. I think a lot of people are familiar with the Qanba LED kits from Paradise Arcade. I never jumped on the Qanba because I wasn't confident I was going to be able to make it work with the stock board in my stick. I really didn't want to swap out the board because as an officially licensed PS4 stick, this thing works natively on PS5 with no firmware update, no adapter, nothing like that. I'm going to show you the method I came up with to accomplish this. Real quick before we get started, if your stick has a board that has LED capability built in, such as I believe the GP2040CE does, well, cheers and celebrations for you. These buttons are going to be plug and play. You can plug those directly into your LED port. If you're like me and you've got a retail stick and you don't want to mess around with it too much, stick around. Quick pros and cons for this method. Pro, this should work for absolutely any stick, regardless of what you have. We're basically going to be tapping the USB power from inside the stick and then routing it through an external RGB controller that we're going to be adding inside. So this is totally board agnostic. Anything you have, it should work just fine. Another pro, that also means we're going to be doing no soldering and no programming. So if you are lazy like me, this is going to work great. And one last pro, although this is half a pro and half a con, is that because we're going to be adding an external RGB controller in here, the good news is that we can actually control it with Bluetooth, which is kind of fun. So if you go to a tournament and your opponent starts complaining that your flashy lights are making them drop their inputs, you can just pull out your phone and turn it off. No big deal. This is also a con because the fact that we're using this controller from Amazon means that we can't do custom patterns. We're going to have no interactability with the buttons. If you have the Qanba LED kit, you can do cool stuff where you press a button and the button lights up when you press it. Maybe you have a combo of buttons that does something. So, when you do your Street Fighter 6 parry, the buttons glow blue, and when you do drive impact, it glows red, whatever. We can't do any of that. These buttons are going to be totally disconnected from the logic of the buttons. That's because in my board, the way that Hori does it, they solder and glue all the connections, so I don't have any access to the data there, and I don't want to go messing with it. Also, with the specific controller that I got from Amazon, we are going to be limited to the preset patterns. I'll show that to you at the end. We can do solid colors. They have a couple patterns. I found one that I like, so I'm happy with it. This is really all I wanted to do was this blue and purple thing, and of course blue and purple is going to be an option. If you have something esoteric or exotic that you're trying to achieve, you might want to look for a different solution. All right, so let's lay out what you're going to need for this. Of course, we need the buttons. I bought 8 30mm clear RGB buttons, and I also bought the LED cable that Qanba sells with them. The total cost for me out the door was like $55 shipped from China. It took about 10 days, not too bad. Then we need some way to grab power from our USB line. For this, I grabbed this power pass-through harness from BitBang Gaming. Since I have a Hori stick, they actually sold one directly compatible for Hori, which is very convenient. If you don't have a Hori stick, they do sell this other one that you should be able to tap into the power from any stick that you've got. So not too difficult. Lastly, this is the RGB controller that I grabbed from Amazon. I spent a bit of time hunting around for this one and finally found this one that had everything I need. You can see that on the power side, we can put in the red and black 2 wires into there for power, for the 5-volt power that we're tapping. And then on the other end, we're going to be able to get this 3-prong outlet, which matches the plug that's going to come with the Qanba buttons. So with that, we are all set. All right, and here we are inside the stick. I have already popped in the new buttons, nice and easy, snap-in buttons, piece of cake, normal stuff. So we're gonna see about setting up the light aspect of this. You'll see here in the corner, this is the original PCB that came with the stick with the Hori rap.n. You'll see that Hori chooses to do this thing where they solder and hot glue the connections here instead of using the quick connect. So, I mean, it works, but that does mean that we don't have the option to tap into that signal at all. So again, if you're interested in having a solution that reacts when you press and makes different lights happen when you do stuff, not possible with this board. First step, we are going to try out this power pass-through. So we can see this here is going to slot in one of these. This one here on the right. All right, we've pulled that out. We're gonna take our pass-through harness here. We're gonna plug that back in. Sorry that the angle isn't so good here for you, but I think you get the idea of what I'm doing. Just like so. And we place the original cable, original plug back into this little extension here. And voila, we now have access to our power. Now this power pass-through has this little plastic connector. I think the assumption is that you are getting this for an SOCD cleaner, something else like that. We don't need this part here, so we're just gonna kind of yank it off if we can. Might have to cut it off. We'll see. Just like so. And then we're gonna screw these in to the terminals on our controller, black to black and red to red. All right, so in theory, now this will be getting power from the USB. We're gonna test that real quick. I'm gonna try plugging in the USB and see if that works. So give me 1 second. All right, I just confirmed that that worked, but the stick still has power. Controller has power. Awesome. Next, we are gonna take the little LED cable here. I'm gonna do the same thing. We're gonna screw it right into this. I believe we're going red, green, ground. All right, that should hopefully do it. And then we're going to take the LED cable that I bought from Qanba with the buttons. Right here, you can see there is a large number of button connections. I do believe this offers 12. It's enough that if you have 24mm buttons for your directions. You've got the hitbox layout. You can LED those up as well. All right. Let's connect this sucker right here. Some direction. Like that. Oh. And then we're just going to send these across the buttons. I'm trying to think if the order matters. I think I'm going to start from the top. I'm going to start from our... Let's do it in this order. All right, we're all wired up. You'll see that we have 4 more available here. Again, if you wanted to have directional buttons over here, that would work for you. Well, there's nothing left but to see if it worked before we close it up. All right, so full disclosure, I did have to unscrew and rescrew the LED cable into the controller because I kind of didn't do it quite right the first time, but second time is the charm. Let's plug this baby in. And there we have it. Nice. So the controller that we got off of Amazon, you can actually control it with Bluetooth. Oh, wow, I don't even know what it's doing here. It's got a bunch of patterns. I would love to cycle through the patterns, but I need to control it with the phone that I'm using to record this video. So I think I'm gonna have to do that separately. I'll find one that I like and then I'll show you. You can see it's all working out here though. Glowing rainbow. This is making me wonder if I would rather reorder it though. Maybe I would rather go like across the lines instead of going around, but look at that. The buttons seem pretty nice too, by the way. They are the Qanba Gravity buttons. They're silenced. I used to have these Sumitsus with foam pads in them to silence. These seem pretty good. All right, I just wanted to give you a quick look at the app control. So the Bluetooth controller that I got from Amazon can be controlled via Bluetooth. So it has a really cruddy app here. We've got a bunch of different settings. They're not too exciting. Oh, where'd it go? Connecting. There we go, connected. All right. So see, we have it on mode 48. There's 200 modes, but they're really only like 4 or 5 with a bunch of different color options. So I'll show you what I mean. We have mode 1, typical rainbow, 2, 3. You see it's just kind of the same pattern again and again, but with some different colors. You can scroll down the list. You got some chase options. You have some fade options. You have some breathe options. You can change the speed. You can change the brightness. Not very exciting. Not a lot of options. Solid color, of course. You can do, want it just red, whatever, just blue, whatever. But again, totally fine by me. I really didn't want anything fancy. All I wanted was it to go between blue and purple. And of course, that's an option, so we are good. And that's the end. The whole process didn't take too long, maybe like 30 minutes, and only because I'm really bad at screwing in wires. The hardest part was actually just kind of figuring this out ahead of time and knowing what to order. So now that I have figured that out for you, I hope that you have an easy time with it. Thanks for watching. Stop watching videos about fighting games on YouTube and go play some fighting games. In person, if you can. Support your locals. And if you can't, please play on Ethernet. Please, 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 please be wired. Please wire up wired. Get an Ethernet. There's options. power line adapter, run a cable through your ceiling, anything, anything. Please don't play on Wi-Fi. Bye.